What if the best evidence for alien life isn't buried on Mars or hiding in some distant galaxy? What if it's actually encoded in the air of a planet just 124 light-years away? This isn't science fiction. It's data. Real data from the James Webb Space Telescope, analyzed by a super-smart AI, has revealed something shocking. Even cautious scientists are blown away. In the atmosphere of the exoplanet K2-18b, scientists have found molecules that shouldn't be there, unless life put them there. This could be the first crack in the universe's long silence, a sign that could change how we see life beyond Earth and our place in everything. This wasn't some grand announcement or flashing lights. It came from digging deep into starlight. JWST's instruments captured light as it passed through K2-18b's atmosphere, giving us a chemical snapshot. At first, scientists looked for common gases like carbon dioxide and methane, but they found more. There was a faint signal of dimethyl sulfide, DMS, and dimethyl disulfide, DMDS. On Earth, these things are almost always made by life, especially tiny marine organisms. And this wasn't just a maybe. An AI trained to spot tricky chemical signs found the DMS signal with crazy confidence. This is the kind of thing scientists dream about. But this is just the start. K2-18b isn't any old exoplanet. Discovered in 2015, it's a Hycean world, a super-Earth with a hydrogen-rich atmosphere and probably a global ocean. Think of a bigger Earth covered in thick, swirling hydrogen clouds. Back in 2019, Hubble hinted at water vapor, but the data wasn't clear. Then came Webb, whose instruments opened a door that was only cracked before. While several AIs helped sort through the data, a special quantum AI from Geneva really made the difference. Unlike regular models, this AI didn't just search for known molecules. It looked at the weird relationships between spectral lines, stuff most scientists couldn't even map. It found a pattern that looked strangely biological. The Cambridge research team has a wild idea. The DMS and DMDS could be waste from alien microbes living in a huge underground ocean, releasing sulfur compounds into the air. Here on Earth, tiny organisms do the same thing. So, what if that's what's happening on K2-18b? Starlight passing through the planet's clouds would then carry hints of that life across the galaxy to us. The presence of methane and CO2 in the atmosphere makes this idea even stronger. Together, these chemicals start to look like a biological sign. But not everyone agrees. Soon after the Cambridge team shared their results, researchers at Oxford did their own checks of the JWST data. They couldn't find any DMS or DMDS at all. Their models said the signals might just be errors caused by how JWST's detectors work or how the data was processed. Even worse, the DMS signals didn't have other chemicals that usually go with sulfur made by living things like nitrogen. That made the signal seem less believable. It was a letdown. What looked like the best sign of life ever might just be a trick of the light. Or maybe it's real. Here's why this matters. This isn't just about some molecules on a distant planet. It's about how we define life and how we find it. For ages, we've wondered if we're alone. Now, with powerful AIs and telescopes far from Earth, we might finally get an answer. But that answer comes with the risk of hope being crushed and pushing science to its limits. Cambridge sees a pattern. DMS, methane, and now maybe ammonia all together. To them, it's not just a bunch of molecules. It's a clear signal. The Geneva AI didn't just find the chemicals. It figured out connections and patterns in the data that humans probably wouldn't see. Still, Oxford isn't wrong to be careful. Extraordinary claims need amazing proof. They think the AI might be overreaching, meaning just because it sees patterns doesn't mean they're real. Could be imagining things, a fancy illusion created by complex math that doesn't mean anything in the real world. That's the tricky part. The same thing that makes the AI so good, its ability to see complex stuff, also makes it prone to errors. It doesn't just study data differently. It thinks differently. It finds links across time and spots hidden connections. These patterns might be from life, or they might just be echoes of the AI's own thinking. To trust it is to step into the unknown. Now, the next piece of the puzzle is coming. The JWST is aiming its MIRI instrument at K2-18b to scan it in infrared light, where molecules like ammonia and DMS are easier to see. With more time to watch and better noise control, MIRI could either prove or disprove everything we think we know. If MIRI sees the same molecules, if ammonia shows up in the right amounts, or if it appears on a different instrument, then the AI's findings will be much stronger. If that happens, even the skeptics at Oxford might have to agree. Right now, we're in a weird spot where doubt and wonder go hand in hand. The wait for MIRI's scan has begun, and the guessing continues. Just as things were getting intense, word quietly got out from the European Space Agency. MIRI might have already found ammonia in K2-18b's atmosphere. Ammonia might not sound like much. It's in cleaners and fertilizer. But on a planet, it's a big deal. On a hydrogen-rich world like K2-18b, ammonia shouldn't last long. Sunlight should break it down, or other chemicals should neutralize it. Unless something is constantly making more. On Earth, that something is life. Microbes in the oceans release ammonia as waste. Its presence on K2-18b could mean the same thing is happening there. If so, it would be the third major sign of life found in the same place. Methane, DMS, and now ammonia all linked to life here on Earth. And as MIRI's data was being processed, the Geneva AI was already taking a look. It found crazy patterns in the ammonia signal that matched specific pressures in the atmosphere, pressures that could allow liquid water to exist beneath the clouds. Add in the other signals, sulfur and nitrogen cycles, stable air, and suddenly we're not just talking about a place that could have life. We're talking about actual life. Not aliens sending messages, but something smaller and quieter. Alien plankton, tiny organisms living in a hydrogen ocean under swirling clouds on a super-Earth 124 light-years away. That's not a dream. That's what the data suggests. And what makes it even more convincing is that these signals are showing up on different JWST instruments at different wavelengths. They're all pointing in the same direction, toward life. Maybe for the first time, we're moving beyond guessing. These aren't just vague hints. They're real chemical signs layered on top of each other, creating a picture that looks more and more like biology. K2-18b is becoming a real contender for something amazing. The first known world besides our own that might have life. Think about what's happening. Dimethyl sulfide, methane, carbon dioxide, and now ammonia. Each of these can be found elsewhere without life. But not together, not in these amounts, and not on a planet that seems like it could support life. When we see this mix of stuff on Earth, it means only one thing. Something is alive. But science is careful. It doesn't jump to conclusions. That's why repeating the experiment is so important. New analyses are being done, old data is being re-examined, and simulations are being refined. There are even experiments here on Earth to recreate K2-18b, like conditions. The goal is to see if these chemicals could appear without life, if volcanoes, light reactions, or strange minerals could explain what we're seeing. So far, the answer seems to be no. Ammonia, in particular, is a game-changer. On K2-18b, with all its ultraviolet light and crazy atmosphere, ammonia shouldn't be stable. Without something constantly making it, it should disappear quickly. The fact that it's being detected at all, maybe in large amounts, suggests that something is actively producing it. Combine that with methane, which also breaks down quickly in hydrogen atmospheres, and the case gets stronger. Something might be keeping this chemical balance. And there's more. The Geneva AI isn't just naming molecules. It's mapping relationships and patterns between chemicals, atmospheric pressures, temperatures, and light absorption. It's finding rhythms. Life isn't still. It changes, breathes, and cycles. The AI seems to have found not just the presence of life-friendly chemicals, but the dynamic dance between them and cycles that hint at biological processes. Let's not forget how special this is. This isn't some crazy alien movie with lights and spaceships. It's quieter, subtler, and maybe more important. We're not hearing words or seeing cities. We're reading the invisible breath of tiny organisms in alien air. Imagine what this says about life in the universe. If life can appear on a mini-Neptune orbiting a red dwarf star with a hydrogen atmosphere, then the rules for life just changed. It doesn't need Earth-like conditions. It doesn't need sunlight or an atmosphere like ours. It might just need chemistry, warmth, water, and time. If that's true for K2-18b, How many other worlds might fit this broader definition of habitability? Here's the thing. K2-18b is just one of thousands of exoplanets we've found. If it's already showing signs of life with only a few years of JWST data, then we might just be starting to see the possibilities. What happens when we start looking at other Hycean worlds? What happens when AI gets even better at filtering out noise and finding subtle markers? We might be at the beginning of a new time in astrobiology, where life isn't rare but normal, where biology doesn't need a perfect planet, just the right chemistry, and where tiny ecosystems might be thriving on worlds we never thought twice about. But despite all the excitement, we still need to be careful. Scientists are doing more tests to either prove or disprove these findings. Some are simulating how JWST's detectors work under different conditions. Others are testing new cloud models to see if known physics could create what looks like a sign of life. And skeptics are still pointing out valid concerns. Is the AI really seeing what's there, or is it just finding patterns in chaos? With quantum AI, we're entering a place where our tools might be ahead of our understanding. When an algorithm sees something that looks like life but uses logic that humans can't fully understand, we're in new territory. Do we trust the signal, or do we wait for other methods to confirm it? That's where MIRI's deeper scans will be crucial. It uses a different part of the spectrum that's less prone to errors and more sensitive to molecules like ammonia and DMS. If it detects these molecules again, especially in the same amounts, the argument becomes much stronger. We'll have confirmation from different instruments using different methods. That's not just a suggestion. That's solid. If another telescope confirms the findings, we're looking at one of the biggest discoveries in science. A second creation of life. If even some of this evidence holds up, we're on the verge of something huge. The first confirmed detection of alien life. Not in a lab, but in the air of distant worlds. And not the kind of life we see in movies. Something simpler, more basic, more universal. Life as chemistry. Life as survival. Life as the natural result of a planet doing what planets do under the right conditions. That idea, that life might be a natural part of the universe, shakes everything we thought we knew. It suggests that biology isn't a fluke. It's a feature. It might mean that for every planet orbiting a stable star, there's a chance that something is swimming, replicating, and evolving beneath the clouds. But K2-18b is just the beginning. Researchers are using the same AI systems that worked on K2-18b to look at other planets like GJ1214b, LHS-140b, and some in the TRAPPIST-1 system. These are also Hycean or super-Earth planets that might have life. What makes this new AI so special is how it reframes the question. Instead of asking what molecules are here, it asks what patterns suggest biology. It doesn't need to be told what life looks like. It learns what relationships in the data might point to a living system. It builds a model not of molecules, but of how they interact. That means it can see things we've never seen before. It's already spotted weird patterns in the TRAPPIST-1e data. Nothing conclusive, but enough to warrant a closer look.